Hello, everybody. I am Marina Mikhailis, and today I am going to talk about the Sargon of Akkad versus Mr. Metokur drama. Now, before I get started, I would like to make it clear that I do not hate Sargon. I even made a video called Sargon Was Right About Male Feminists. So it's kind of like if I made a video called Sargon Was Right About Male Feminists, of course I do not hate Sargon at all. But I mean, I did watch Jim's take on it, and I did watch a video by what's it called, Michelle Caitlin, and I agree with both. I agree with both Jim and I agree with Michelle Caitlin's take on the Sargon Metokur situation because Sargon's stream was self-contradictory. Like in one hand, Mr. Metokur is so dangerous and so horrible that he blackmails police officers. But then, like in Sargon's stream, how, he is, this type of guy who got teenagers to troll, and they were kind of like, we didn't really accomplish much, so it's kind of like, what's his name? Mr. Otaku or Fatataku, he says we didn't accomplish much, but they are so like, I don't know, they're like the internet Satan. They blackmail police officers, and those two things contradict each other. Like if you're so badass that you are, blackmailing police officers, then how come like you're playing another clip that contradicts the previous clips, saying that as teenagers, they didn't accomplish much. Another problem is how, I mean, I hate to do this to Sargon, but I have to agree with Mr. Metokur about Sargon sounding too much like Anita Sarkeesian, where Sargon is going to go full believe the victim when it comes to James Haberman claims, where it's kind of like it was just some sort of link to Forbes that, it didn't have any screenshots. It's only James Haberman's claims. It is claims without evidence. And any claims that are made without evidence are claims that could be dismissed without evidence. I mean, it really is no research. It's kind of like, why should I take James Haberman's word for anything? Or it's kind of like Sargon accuses Jim of being a child groomer by hearsay alone. I mean, it's kind of like Shorts Fats Otaku just says that Jim was the oldest guy there in a website full of 13 and 14 year olds. Well, where's the evidence? Where's the analytics? Where is the proof? I mean, it is based off hearsay alone, which to me is pretty much worse than anything Anita Sarkeesian ever advocated for. At least with Anita Sarkeesian, there is an actual victim that comes forward and says, this person raped me. But it's kind of a lot like Sargon used the statements of Shorts Fatataku to go, well, Jim's a child groomer, without somebody going, oh, Jim, took sexual pictures of me, or, Jim, is caught flirting with a 13-year-old girl. It is basically, you're taking the fact that he's the oldest person there on a website, full of 13 and 14-year-olds by the claims of Shorts Fats Otaku alone. I mean, does he have any analytics? Does he have any proof? Does he have any evidence that the websites, was only 13 or 14-year-olds? Because next thing you know, Mr. Metokur showed us his, YouTube analytics, and his highest age demographics are people from 18 to 34. It's kind of a lot like he's like PewDiePie, but more nefarious. And it's weird because, PewDiePie has a young audience, or supposedly, and you defended PewDiePie, or, Shoehead. From what I hear, Shoehead has an audience full of teenagers. You're not going to call Shoehead a child groomer. It's like you're throwing shits at a wall to, see what sticks. And I do agree with Michelle when she says that Sargon was trying to be all Saul Alinsky, using Rule 4, trying to out Jim. But that doesn't work when you don't do basic research and don't have anything interesting on the guy. Like all Sargon had was, hearsay. And the hearsay contradicted each other. They pretty much canceled each other out. And it just, I mean, it doesn't really help the skeptic community when you complain about like Anita Sarkeesian and the feminist group, calling people a rapist without evidence, and you're going to call Jim or Mr. Metokur a child groomer without evidence. In the funniest parts of Mr. Metokur's stream, it's like, where Mr. Metokur showed that Sargon of Akkad had absolutely positively no problem with Jim's content when he was like making fun of feminists, where, Sargon was, showing himself jerking off to Jim. But then now that, Jim is making fun of the skeptic community, suddenly, it's still pretty much the same content. It's just targeting the skeptics. Now Sargon has a problem with Jim. When really, Jim, he makes fun of anybody stupid. It's what keeps his channel fun and entertaining to watch. It's like why you could, keep turning on his channel and it's always fun, always interesting, always like, yeah. When really, I mean, when all you do is make fun of feminists, it's going to get boring and dull really quickly, as opposed to, I'm going to make fun of stupid Christians, I'm going to make fun of stupid feminists, I'm going to make fun of, stupid rednecks, I'm going to make fun of anybody stupid. It's why, it's why I could always watch Mr. Metokur and always be entertained because, he would make fun of anybody. But when you limit yourself to only making fun of feminists, it's going to get really old really fast. And I do agree with, Mr. Metokur and Caitlin, or what's her name? Michelle, Caitlin, whatever, where it's kind of a lot like Sargon's ego. Sargon has a problem with his ego. And again, I don't hate Sargon. I did, make a video called I Agree with Sargon when it comes to male feminists. But I do think that Sargon has a real fragile ego. Kind of a lot like, when he was it reported Christiosity, off of Twitter. It just seemed like why on earth would she report, Christiosity out of Twitter? I think, he just did it because Christiosity hurts his feelings. But people will want to be like, nope. Saul Alinsky, Rule 4, when really, I mean, it does seem like, the rules for radicals have become like the skeptic Bible, where you want to hide behind it and use it as a shield. When it comes to a real book of strategy, people should want to know your secret. Like, you're supposed to come off really cool and amazing, and people should be like, what's your secret? What's your secret? But when it comes to Saul Alinsky's role for radicals, these skeptics hide it, using it as a shield for like whenever they come across as hypocritical. Like, no, 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 no. I may seem like a hypocrite, but I'm using Saul Alinsky's tactics. It's not a book of strategies if you need to hide behind it and use it as a shield. The moment you need to hide behind a book and use it as a shield for shitty actions is the moment it becomes a Bible. The moment is no different than any other religious text like the Bible or the Quran, where, the Westboro Baptist does something really shitty. They're like, the Bible says so. Or when, Muslims does something really shitty, it's like, it's the Quran. It's the Quran. And it's kind of like you guys seem like hypocrites, censoring, Christiosity, censoring, Tim Blake. But it's like, wait a minute, Saul Alinsky. It's not really a book of strategies. If you need to hide behind it, it's the Bible. I'm just saying, I would just, pretty much ignore that book, and I don't really know why you guys care about that dead guy so much, or just get a new book of strategies. Like there are like, I don't know, there's Amazon, just gets a new book. And it's kind of like the skeptic community is imploding. It has been imploding for a long time because it does seem like, people can't take constructive criticisms anymore. Like I remember when the Ranting Monkey, a person who's a huge fan of Sargon, the Ranting Monkey even prefaced the video saying, "I'm actually a fan of Sargon. I just think he's wrong." And he would get bombarded with downvotes and just people in the skeptic community throwing a conniption. Or when your boy Pats is a nice guy. He's kind, sweet, and friendly. But he just says, "I disagree with Sargon." And it just gets saying bombarded with, downvotes because people in the skeptic community want to turn into hypersensitive snowflakes. Or it's kind of like it just keeps it seems like people in the skeptic community don't like criticism even when it's coming from people who want to see you succeed. The Ranting Monkey wants to see Sargon of Akkad succeed. Your boy Pats actually wants to see Sargon of Akkad succeed. And even then, it's kind of like you don't like criticism. Or even when it comes to Teal Deer making that video, punish videos versus intellectual vigor, and it just got bombarded with downvotes, and people just says that Teal Deer isn't one of us anymore. Fuck Teal Deer, you guys don't like him anymore. And it's kind of like everything has just been going downhill, and your message ends up being bipolar, where you're making fun of, feminists for not being able to handle criticism. But when criticism from, Ranting Monkey, Your Boy Pat, Teal Deer, coming from a good place, people who want to see you succeed, people are just like, "Hey, I just want to see succeed," getting bombarded with downvotes and people throwing a conniption, people just hating on it instead of wanting to listening to different ideas. It's why I see more and more people saying that they are leaving the anti-feminist community, they're leaving the anti-SJ community, they're saying that this community is no longer for them. Like I've seen it from Sofane. Sofane is like, "Well, I guess I just don't belong here." I see it from Devil's Advocates. I see it from There was even a live stream from, Lonely Wolf, S-Man Speaks, Chairview. There were others saying that they're leaving the skeptic community because they just don't belong here, because it's kind of like you clearly do not want to hear. It's clearly not a marketplace of ideas. You clearly don't want to hear differences of opinions, even from people who do mean well, even when people are like, I want to see you succeed. And when you don't want to hear a differences of opinion for people who want to see you succeed and want you to be a success, then there's nowhere to go but down if you just want to be in an echo chamber hug box of people who just want to be yes men and compliment you constantly. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. You know, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I know that there's going to be a bunch of Sargon fans that are going to take it personally and be on Sargon's side. And again, that's what I think is the biggest problem, is when people are kind of like criticizing you. And again, it's kind of like, I want to see Sargon succeed. Your boy Pat wants to see Sargon succeed. Ranting Monkey, so many people want to see succeed. But it's kind of like when you bite people's heads off, people who want to see you succeed, there's nowhere else to go but down. But that's my thoughts. Let me hear yours. If you like my videos, I make a new video every single Thursday. Like every single Thursday, I release a new video. So if you like my content, I'll see you there. And if you don't like my content, feel free to downvote and unsubscribe. Bye bye.